Hi, welcome back to the Pot Smoker's Bible. My name is Zion. I'm the author of the Pot Smoker's Bible, by the way. It contains the book of Zion, which is a book of prophecy from the Old Testament. We're going to get into that part really soon. You're going to like it. Now, the last time that we were um, discussing chapter 2, part 2, we learned that one of the major corporations in the United States was behind the creation of what we know as the war on drugs. Now, we also found out that there was a really bad event coming up that we have to prepare for, and that brings us into part 3 of chapter 2 of the Pot Smoker's Bible, and it goes like this: the testimony of the prophets suggests two events. One is an orbital event; the other is a terrestrial event. The orbital event is an impact strong enough to move the Earth out of its orbit. The planet itself reels and rocks while it establishes a new orbit, thus changing our star field, creating a new heavens and a new Earth. And this unfortunately creates a firestorm. And the firestorm is the result of global warming. This is the likely result of the methane explosion, which will burn everything above ground. Both catastrophes that are suggested by the prophecy um, are unavoidable. In order for the human race to survive such an event, we must prepare an intermountain shelter. It must be supplied with everything that we're going to need to survive the seeds and the DNA to repopulate both the plant and animal kingdoms. A fireball Earth has occurred in the past. It is not unconceivable. The human race must prepare in order to survive such an event. According to the prophecy, a third of the population will survive. The prophet tells us that we will be overcrowded in our intermountain shelters, but the people will survive. When they return to the surface, they will first have to tend to the bones of the unlucky two-thirds. But once the land is cleansed, they will rebuild a new society that knows no war. Although our numbers will be greatly reduced, we will survive the impending upcoming disaster. Those of us who live to see the new age of humanity will enjoy a Star Trek-like society. Our gods, those aliens in the UFOs, belong to a peaceful, cooperative, intergalactic society. We will join that federation of species. The new heavens and the new earth of the prophecy promises us a new way of life, a heavenly existence where we literally go into the heavens, joining the existing society as a delightful people. Now, when the alien gods of our ancestors flew in the skies of Earth, they interacted with the human population. Every nation of antiquity had a physical god that they worshipped. These gods, however, decided to leave humanity to our own devices, leaving our skies. To us, they became myths and legends. Our forefathers knew physical gods who flew in the skies of Earth, much like the current UFOs do. The aliens that we call gray are the children of the gods of the ancient times. They've returned as promised. Our myths portray the ancient gods as a single being. However, logic dictates that for each name of God, there is an individual being behind that name. Yahweh is not I am that I am, and he is not Jehovah. The prophecy names our current God as Ishi. Ishi and those with him are the descendants of the gods of old. The part of the controversy over religion will be the true identity of God as alien. The current belief in God ranges from the single all-powerful being to a group of beings of infinite power. The arrival of the aliens as God will be contested by those who believe in this single or this more spiritual God. They will deny the gray as the descendants of their gods. Now, the governments of the earth have already taken steps to counteract the alien presence. Our leaders have, since the 1940s, denied the existence of the aliens that fly in our skies. Hollywood has, since the 50s, portrayed them as an enemy of Earth, invaders to be repelled. For whatever reasons they imagine, the governments of our planet have resisted the alien arrival, denying their existence. The prophecy tells us that God, Ishi, will not deal with the nations. The governments, the governing bodies of the earth, are not acceptable to the alien races. That is why the aliens created for themselves a nation with which they could interact and work. The animosity of the Greys and the governments are foretold in the prophecy, creating the need for a nation such as Zion. Now, the book of Zion, as I have written it, tells the story of first contact with aliens. The descendants left us this story so that we would know the aliens as gods and not as invaders. This testimonial of prophecy was written as a guide to making first contact. Zion gathers her people together and the UFOs come. That is the reason I've written this book, to make first contact. This book was destined to be written. It is itself part of the prophecy. The author of this book is the prophet Zion herself. Only she can see it for what it truly is, because she's living the story. She recognizes herself in chapter 54 of Isaiah. She pieces together the ancient puzzle because it was left for her to do that. And it was left to her to write the book. As the author of the book of Zion, I take my place as the prophet Zion. Chapter 54 of Isaiah is a parallel to my story. I am a singer. I was forced to move at the age of 15, leaving behind the love of my life. I later began to remember a childhood of incest and date rape, a shameful youth, which set the stage for my claim to be Zion. In 1979, I became Zion. I didn't know it at the time. I cried out in prayer to the God of Israel. I begged for an end to my pain and anguish. I offered my life in service to God. God answered that prayer with a dream. That dream led me to Zion. As I have already stated, by the time the world becomes aware of Zion, she's already established herself. She has taken all of the steps foretold. She has already set in motion the prophecy. When I read the testimony of Isaiah in a court of law, I established myself as Zion. That was in 2015. The publication of the prophecy is the final act of Zion. Before the prophecy actualizes. Now, once the information of the prophecy becomes common knowledge, the controversy it creates takes over. All prophetic events stem from the publication of the prophetic text in its true form. When Zion presents the prophecy to the world, the events follow, and they are inevitable and they are unstoppable. Human nature takes over. Now, the claims I make are extraordinary. The proof must also be extraordinary. The prophecy itself is that proof. I have written the prophecy as it was intended to be. Each following chapter has two parts, well, three parts. The prophetic text, the extraordinary proof it presents, and the testimony of the prophets themselves. I offer extraordinary proof to my claims. So be prepared to be shocked and amazed at the revelations that I'm about to present in the prophecy. Those who think themselves righteous, be warned. You're about to have the shock of your life. And those of you who have no hope, be prepared to be amazed. You're about to learn who and what you truly are. The prophecy will turn the tables on us all. So read on if you dare, but be prepared to have your world turned upside down. The prophecy is a clear picture of the day in which we live. It was written 3,000 years ago, but it portrays our current state of affairs. It was designed to lead the human race to first contact, particularly so for the people to become known as Zion. I present to you the prophecy in its true form, an image of our modern day. And so ends chapter 2 of the Pot Smoker's Bible. I will see you next time.